Greetings again, everyone. Christian Ramsey here. This is the Passionary One channel, and today we're going to be starting a new playlist on apologetics. What is apologetics? Well, it's defending the faith, giving forth a reason that Christianity is reasonable, and so sometimes it's called apologetics. That word has kind of been morphed over the eons to mean the same thing as like an apology, meaning I'm sorry. But an apology, apo, to send forth, logia, a reason, to send forth a reason. So we've kind of morphed that a little bit. So if you hear someone call something apologetics, it's not how to apologize for the Christian faith, but it's how to give a reason for the reasonableness of Christianity. And there's several ways to come at this. But today we're going to talk about, did God really say? Question that Satan asked in the garden. And it'll all come down to the Christian scriptures eventually. No matter what debate or what discussion you have, eventually it will come into the question, can we trust the scriptures? Can we trust the Bible? And indeed, I'm going to give you some reasons here. There's a lot of information, so I actually scripted this one out a little bit. Haven't scripted anything before, so hopefully it's not too dull me kind of reading from the things. But first off, the Bible is not one book. It's 66 books. Old Testament, New Testament, 66 books of different genres. There's law, poetry, prose, narrative, history, prophecy. There's different kinds of writings in all kinds of different ways in this book. So before we get going too far into the details, I want to highlight three main things: the continuity, the survival of the scriptures, and the ability of the scriptures to withstand attack. So I'll be narrowing in on those three and giving you some examples. So continuity, survival, and withstanding attack. Number one, continuity. Again, the Bible isn't one book, it's 66 different books. So think of 66 different books piled on the floor. There's all these different books in these different genres, many of them by different people. Some people wrote more than one, and there it is. But it took over 1,500 years. So just ponder for a second how long that is. If the Bible was finished, say, in the year 2000, okay, that means it would have been started in 500 AD. Imagine all that's happened since 500 AD. It's crazy. And imagine that there were over 40 authors, and there were over 40 authors ranging in station from kings to shepherds to historians and more. It was written in times of peace, written in times of war, and it all agrees on every ultimate issue of life. Think of the political hot topic issues right now, socially, in civil stuff, politics, whatever, morality. Those things were addressed by Scripture, and it agrees throughout. Over 1,500 years, 40 authors, 3 languages, and it all agrees on all of them. That's a miracle. Imagine trying to get, 10 people who grew up speaking the same language, in the same place, in the same era growing up, to agree on, 10 issues. It'd be like a miracle. So that alone talks about how remarkable the scripture is in its continuity. And it covers things like abortion, illegal immigration, sexuality issues, all the things, and it agrees all the way through. So in addition to the continuity is the scripture's survival. The survival, tyrants have been trying to destroy the Bible since the 3rd century. And the Bible is the most circulated text in the world of all ages, and it's translated into over 1,400 languages. And more than that, no other book of antiquity compares in the number of manuscripts, either the full manuscripts or little copies that we found, little sections that we found, or chronologically proximity to the author, meaning, okay, the author lived here and wrote it, and then how many years happened until we found the copy? How many years between that? The Bible is unique in all of those, and we'll get to the details here in just a second. For example, as far as the space between the author's life and the writing of it to when we found the earliest edition of it, Homer's Iliad, for example, has 643 manuscripts and are dated 500 years after Homer. That's a long time. That's longer than twice the existence of the whole United States has even been on the map. Okay? And so the nearest copy of the Iliad is 500 years from Homer. But nobody doubts that Homer wrote it. Nobody doubts that. Well, basically nobody. And another example, Pliny's History. 7 manuscripts. So we only have 7, but 7, that's not nothing. 7 which are 750 years from Pliny, or Pliny, depending on who you talk to, 750 years is the closest one we have to the author. But again, we assume that Pliny actually wrote those and that they're legit. How about Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars? Well, we found 10 copies of those so far, but they are 1,000 years from Caesar. Imagine that, 1,000 years away from the author, and we assume they're authentic and trustworthy. Well, what about the New Testament? Well, it's separated by only 25 years from Jesus, with over 24,000 manuscripts for the whole of the scriptures. The New Testament itself has around 6,000 manuscripts that we've found. Now, by the way, on this picture here, every dot is 25 years, just to give you kind of a visual of how far away. Yet the New Testament is questioned and challenged and debated all the time as far as its authenticity, but it's closer with far more manuscripts than any other work in antiquity. And we can go on, but I'll just leave it with those. Also, one can corroborate the New Testament with non-biblical resources or people that were alive in that day. Non-biblical sources like Flavius Josephus, Tacitus, the Babylonian Talmud, Pliny the Younger's letter to the Emperor Trajan, and more. But despite the fact that the Bible has the most historical evidence confirming its trustworthiness, no book is more scrutinized and attacked, and yet it stands. And science, believe it or not, science and archaeology provide more evidence for its accuracy all the time. See, the Bible is the only source of specific, fulfilled prophecy. You might just think, or you might hear, well, every religion or every philosophy has that. No, that's not true. And not just the multitudes of prophecies concerning the Messiah that Jesus fulfilled, but historical prophecies as well. Cyrus, one of my favorites, Cyrus was named by Isaiah as the one who would set Israel free from captivity to rebuild the temple some 150 years before Cyrus was even born, and well before, generations before they were even taken into captivity. He was prophesied by name. And sure enough, that's who did that. So in the New Testament, Jesus specifically predicted the destruction of the temple, for example, in Jerusalem. And he said, with not one stone being left on another. And that was specifically fulfilled in AD 70. And speaking of other holy books and other pagan religions, the writings, R.S. Foster, he says this: no well-accredited prophecy is found in any other book or even oral tradition that exists now or has ever been in existence in the world. The oracles of heathenism are not to be classed as exceptions. There's not a single one of them that meets the tests required to prove supernatural agency, which every scripture prophecy fulfills, end quote. But besides all this, and you might be shocked, there are many scientific realities that were in the Bible long before people discovered them. There are physical science discoveries like the water cycle, the sun's orbit, the earth being round and hanging on nothing, the currents through the oceans and mountains being at the bottom of the sea. Even modern atomic theory stating that the visible things, the things that we can see, are made from things that we cannot see. That was in the Bible millennia ago. Medical truths in the Bible include the fact that the life is in the blood. Back in the day, bleeding people actually weakens their life. But they would bleed people thinking that takes some of their blood out of their system and that would somehow help them fighting diseases and such. But it doesn't aid in healing, as science once thought. Also, running water being more sanitary than standing water, well, that may seem duh to us, but that's not what science used to say, and that was in the Bible long time ago when science disagreed. And Dr. Nelson Gluck pointed out that not one archaeological finding has ever contradicted the Bible. And of course, there's more things being discovered all the time that just confirm the Bible over and over again. And there's much evidence for the claim that the Bible is indeed the supernatural and accurate and in all it touches. And these are just a snapshot just to have in your pocket of some of these things. So then in the next video, we'll talk about Jesus more specifically. But what does the Bible teach concerning Jesus? Well, a lot. But again, these are just some basics, and that'll be in my next video. Anyway, if you like this or want to tune into more things like this, like and subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments.